Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. Came across a super essay in Insurge Intelligence by Nafis Ahmed called Venezuela's Collapse is a window into how the oil age will unravel. Neither side truly understands the real driving force behind the collapse of Venezuela. We have moved into the twilight of the age of oil. Oil isn't running out. In fact, it's everywhere. We've more than enough to fry the planet. But as the easy, cheap stuff has plateaued, production costs have soared. And as a consequence, the most expensive oil to produce has become increasingly unprofitable. And saying this has been part of Venezuela's problem. Neoliberal reforms further compounded already existing centralized nepotistic political structures vulnerable to corruption. Far from strengthening the state, they led to a collapse in the state's regulative power. Analysts who hark back to a Venezuelan free market golden age ignore the fact that far from reducing corruption, financial deregulation, large-scale privatizations, and private monopolies created large rents and thus rent-seeking and corruption opportunities. The crisis convergence unfolding in Venezuela gives us a window into what can happen when a post-oil future is foisted upon us. As domestic energy supplies dwindle, the state's capacity to function recedes in unprecedented ways, opening the way for state failure. As the state collapses, new smaller centers of power emerge, competing for control of diminishing resources. I've written severally about Venezuela. Last time was on the 4th of Feb when I was quoting one of my favorite quotes by Hunter S. Thompson, "The edge, there is no honest way to explain it," because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who have gone over. Access, in this article of 4th February, I was saying access to oil defined 20th century empires, and the petrodollar agreement was the key to the ascendancy of the United States as the world's sole superpower. America's war machine runs on, is funded by and exists in protection of oil. Threats by any nation to undermine the petrodollar system are viewed by Washington as tantamount to a declaration of war against the United States of America. The Chavez Revolution was always a rebellion in the superpower's backyard, and the machine was eventually going to bring it to heel by hook or by crook. Oriental Review's Andrew Coribico wrote an article headlined "A Venezuelan Coup Could Challenge OPEC Plus and Build Fortress America." And he also wrote that Russia and China weren't capable of directly defending Venezuela. In my latest article, I asked myself, after reading the dinner date which they enjoyed, they missed the second one, Kim and Trump. And I said, I'm sure Nicolas Maduro must be asking himself, what did it take to get Chairman Kim a seat at Trump's dinner table? And the point is this: it took nuclear weapons, and the choice is binary. Dinner, grilled sirloin steak with pear kimchi, marinated tenderloin sirloin grilled with sauce, served with kimchi, fermented inside a pear. That sounds tasty, I must say, that kimchi fermented inside a pear. Or death. And I said, ask Muammar or ask Saddam. And I also said Maduro is, I'm afraid, going down, just like Muammar went down, and as did Saddam. August 2018, I was talking about how Trump was relishing his financial warfare strategies, and that at that time Maduro was being attacked by a remote-controlled drone. My article over the weekend was the week that was. I was talking about Trump, Kim, Michael Cohen, IndiaPakistan, tea, the Kenya shilling, and I started by saying the world is just so fluid and fast-moving. And in fact, the velocity makes me plain dizzy. talking about India-Pakistan, and I was saying the Indian subcontinent has entered unprecedented territory. We witnessed the first tit-for-tat strikes between India and Pakistan since the 1971 war. At the first casualty in any war is the truth, and when I dialed up Indian and Pakistani TV, it was mind-boggling. The decibel level is always high. I don't know if you've ever tried it. It's like 4 levels higher. And it was at 11. Planes were shot down, and an Indian Air Force pilot wing commander who sports the most compelling handlebar moustache I've ever seen was captured and then released. The Indian Army said they'd killed hundreds of militants in their attack, but have provided no evidence, and Pakistan is suing the Indians for eco-terrorism. Of course, Narendra Modi is up against an election, and his entire political raison d'etre has been built on the basis of Make India, or is it Hindutva, great again. He cannot back down, or it will be a Jimmy Carter type moment. On the other side, we have a neophyte Prime Minister Imran Khan, whom I must admit has displayed a very deft touch. In a deeply symbolic move, the Muslim community is trying to rehabilitate an 80-year-old temple which is in Pulwama, and this is a photograph of it from news18.com.